Hello and welcome to another super webinar brought to you by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. This is Rochelle Scouten, Development Director, and we are so excited to be partnering with Spinlister today for this presentation. We have Mark and Colby with us, and I will let them go ahead and introduce themselves. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Raquel. Well, I'm Mark Gustafson, owner and CEO of Spinlister, and on the call today we have Colby Marple. Colby, this quick introduction of your role at Spinlister, and then I'll go ahead and take the lead on the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks, Rochelle, and thanks, Mark. My name is Colby Marple. I'm the Director of Retail Solutions at Spinlister.
Great. Thanks, Colby. Well, thank you guys for having us today, and excited to chat all things digital booking and as the slide here says, get off the phone, get more customers, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. We all know being on the phone all day in the shop is not that efficient. So among many other things, but just a quick background, if you know nothing about Spinlister, who I am or why we're on an NBDA webinar is, Spinlister been around for a while, known as the peer-to-peer bike share network. So, and it's transformed over the years. It still has a big peer-to-peer community, and but what's the transition has been since 2017, shortly before I came in and took over, Spinlister saw the opportunity, the changing environment, and not just in the bicycling industry, but in retail with less ownership, more sharing, and wanted to be a platform that empowered retailers to utilize what was Spinlister's growing network. So I like a lot compare it to a Airbnb, where Airbnb, everyone thinks they're renting from an individual. Airbnb is actually grown as a huge marketplace where property managers have actually grown and made their businesses thrive because now they've been given the tools and a platform to scale. So as Spinlister still nurtures our growing network of users, more importantly, where our shift has been, especially since I came in and took over at the fall of 2018, is how can we empower retailers? And empower retailers, obviously rentals is our core business, but there's a lot more around obviously empowering retailers and when it comes to technology than just rentals. And we also believe there's a lot more to just rentals as far as how retailers are involved, whether that's just getting someone on a bike the first time to demo it, leasing it to own it, or even just as a test ride to the purchase experience. And so with that, we wanted to expand our suite of offerings from just rentals to listening to the market and providing more. So I'm going to just dig into a little bit of kind of where we were, where we're at, where our opinions are, and then Kobe's going to jump in with more. And what's exciting about this is where we are in this economy today. I mean, in the last 6 months, everyone has been thrown aback. Bicycling industry has had an opportunity to thrive actually because of the, bicycling is an essential service. Bike shops deemed an essential service in all the major markets, and what we saw was what we already saw the market going, was vastly accelerated by what we're going to call the, Corona economy. I mean, prior to this, retail in general, the Amazon effect, customer expectations are going up. People want an on-demand experience in an on-demand world, and, bike shops in general were struggling with that. But the good thing is with cycling and the retail industry is with a bicycle, people still want to have a consultation before they make a purchase. The bicycle needs to be assembled. What do they need with it? They want to support their local business. Bike shops in general have so much more on their general retail industry that there's always going to be a need for them. And it's just a matter of how do they adopt to this growing virtual world and not let Amazon bike purchases and whatever else it may be make them obsolete. So what we saw, the new normal right now that we're in this current economy is how can a retail adopt to be more like e-commerce, but then also give someone a great in-store experience when it's appropriate. And what I think is one of the biggest changes that we'll see is how do you bring an in-store experience into someone's living room or wherever they are, just bring it into their smartphone. Is people want to support local, people want to, but more than ever, they are also hesitant where they're going to go out. Shops might be closed. Just a whole, everything's changed rapidly, and we've been working on solutions for the long term. And I think right now with the current economy, it's just accelerated the path for the demand for retailers. Really, they need a solution. And how do we, excuse me, how do we keep up with these changing times, right? So next slide for me, go over there. And so I think, when it comes to retail in general, we see the bike demand has been through the roof with the current economy, and that's been great for bike retailers. But for the short term and the long term, I mean, Amazon sales have drastically continued to grow with bike shops, and just direct to consumer bike brands in general continue to go up. But there's also a big piece for retailers in that one to compete with the traditional brands that they sell, but more importantly, if the bike has already been sold, how does the retailer become that point connection to a consumer, whether that's in the assembly and the ongoing service and accessories are still a huge opportunity for a retailer, even if the transaction has already happened online with a direct-to-consumer brand. And then for the consumer, how do they get out of that click and collect mindset? Or if they are in that click and collect, click, everything's 2-day, I'm on my phone, I don't want to leave my house, and I want the best deal. There's that balance from a retailer. People want to support local businesses, but they don't want to necessarily leave their house. They don't have the time, and they want the best deal. So if you combine the convenience of online shopping and the service of a in-store experience, then the consumer has much more of a motivation, obviously, to want to support their local businesses. Excuse me. And I think one of the biggest things is, we want to go back for just a second. And, for retailers, it's how do you compete with online with, the overhead and discount is, so you want to be most efficient with your time. An online visit to your website, is just as valuable as a footstep in your door, as long as you're utilizing it correctly. People pay money just as much to have a big presence online, an efficient website, and whether the purchase is made online or a reservation to come in the store is made online or initial sales consultation is made. I think one of the biggest pieces missing in retail in general, but specifically in the outdoor space and maybe even more specifically in the bicycling industry, is people don't take into account that the first interaction, even if they're a regular shop goer that's been coming to the shop for 20 years, is they're going to probably most likely pull it up on their phone first, and they're going to see it on Google, and then they're going to go to the website, and that is your storefront now. Your digital presence is your first storefront, and the value of that traffic that you're already getting most likely, and capturing that customer at that point is how you're going to continue to grow your business. And then if you can manage your margins, manage your staff, and utilize everyone as much as possible so that they're efficiently doing service, sales, whatever else is needed around the retail, and you can plan that in advance versus, hey, it's a Saturday, how many people should we have on staff, how much maintenance do we have on the books? This become much more all around efficient business, and that's just going to be a win for everybody. Excuse me. And just in general, I think is, we're lucky with the outdoor space and the bicycling industry. People do love want that one-on-one connection. They want to support a local business. For the most part, especially right now with everyone kind of this bike boom that we're in, which is amazing. No one knows what they want necessarily, or unless they definitely don't know what they need. But they don't know if their bike shop's open. They don't know if they're taking walk-ins. They don't know. No, they hear that bikes are sold out across the country. Why am I going to make an attempt to go to the bike shop? But they could still very much want to be that first point of contact. So, you know, the new normal prior to the Corona economy, people think about the Apple Genius Bar, or, you know, booking your yoga class online to know that you have a seat, or, you know, mobile car repair, and even thinking you can buy a full price car nowadays and they deliver it to your home. I mean, people want that online experience. They want to know they're going to get it. And you know, with the outdoor industry, bicycle industry specifically, can utilize the tools that are out there. There's a lot of opportunity, and you know, Spinlister has been trying to find the best tools to give them. And sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. So with that, though, sorry, just looking at the time. I don't want to take all Kobe's steam here, but with that, obviously there is a lot of tools. There has been a massive change, and in the last 5 months, with you know the Corona economy and the COVID pandemic, everything that's changed, it's forced an rapid adoption to these new models. And whether or not we think it's all going to go back to normal tomorrow, or this is going to be the new normal indefinitely, they're great tools to help continue to grow your business out there. And I think right now, especially where there's more demand for bikes, and there's more demand for service, is if the retailers, traditional retailers, can get the word out there that they're available, they can book their appointment in advance. They know that when they show up at the shop, they're going to be expected. They're not going to be sitting in line with a bunch of people when people are scared to be around other people. And more importantly, they know their bike is going to get looked at, or they're going to have someone waiting them to actually talk about what bike they can purchase. And that experience can be in person or online. And, you know, just to kind of this bike boom that we're in, the bike boom 2.0, I mean, this is awesome times. Hopefully this momentum carries. You know, people, you know, at Spinlister, we've been working on a thing with healthcare workers, both abroad and in New York, getting them on bikes. So they don't want to be on public transportation, or transportation was closed and it still needed to get to work. And that goes back to, you know, bicycles are an essential service, just end of story. And there's just more opportunity than ever for retailers if they're able to take advantage of this time that we're in, both because there's a demand for bikes, there's a demand to help support your local economy, and there's also a time to adapt to what was going to be the future inevitably with having an online presence for a retail location. We think right now with, I mean, if you look at this stat on the slide, you know, the sales might be pretty close to accurate, maybe even higher. The sales and service, I think we can all agree, is probably close to 100% year to date for any of you, all you shop owners out there. I mean, we've seen a lot of shops that actually had really robust rental programs be so overwhelmed with sales and service that they've just pivoted to focusing on sales and service. So really exciting times, I think, is what it says. In the bike industry, which we've seen lots of, you know, slow adaptation to the retail changing times just because of the nature of the industry. There wasn't as much of a need to adapt as rapidly because the bike requires human touch. That human handoff is such a key role in someone having a good purchase and service and ongoing experience. But if we can now take the times that we're in to rapidly jump forward to where we all think the industry was going anyway, the bike industry, this bike boom 2.0, can be capitalized on by the retailers and not by Amazon. So with that, I'm going to throw it to Kobe.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. And again, great to be on with the NBDA this morning and afternoon, depending on where you're dialing in from. So again, just to continue Mark's introduction on what online booking represents and how it can benefit your business, I want to start by talking a little bit more about how the customer will benefit from this service and how it ultimately elevates their expectations. So, as Mark mentioned, there are plenty of examples of retailers who have adopted some sort of pre-booking or concierge experience for several years now. And from our perspective, you as essential businesses, you as bicycle retailers, you're delivering not only premium product from premium service. And with that being said, there's a better step one that customers can take advantage of and ultimately meet or exceed their expectations, and also allows you to identify what their interests are, what their concerns may be before they even show up. Just thinking about my bike shop days, you spend as much time trying to diagnose what they were after or what they were seeking than you did actually being productive in getting them what they wanted. So this is just one way to accelerate that and make it easier for you to get to your customers more efficiently. As Mark mentioned as well, your website is every bit as important as the awning and the signage out front of your physical retail location. The ability to bring your store to more customers, not only to understand what's available in store, but increasingly allowing folks to see the shop on their smartphone, get a consultation ahead of time, even if they can't make it outside because they might be under the weather, they may not be comfortable leaving. The bottom line is you can enable your staff to bring the store to them much more efficiently. This is a way to also extend appointment bookings onto your social channels as well, because no matter how your customers are finding you, there's always a chance to hook them and get them stoked on what you're offering as a business. What this all adds up to is just an enhancement of your overall business perception. People like doing business with folks that not only have what they want, but go about it the right way. There's instant recognition of, okay, this business is serious. They're using a technological solution to make my life and their life easier, and also aligns with how they've been sort of accustomed to interacting with retailers, obviously before the pandemic and obviously increasingly in these crazy new times that we're in. Now, customer benefits are one thing. Obviously, we hear about what you guys do on a daily basis as well. The title of this presentation kind of says it all. We want you to get off the phone and get in front of more customers. So, thinking about my own retail days, there was nothing worse than getting a call from a customer and having them try to explain what was wrong with their bike. I'm sure you've all been there, that the answer is the same: bring it in, bring it in. Now you have the ability to ensure that instead of going through that exercise on the phone, they can show up for a 15, 20, 30-minute consultation. And remember too that with virtual, you can diagnose a lot of what used to be tried to be done over the phone or backlogged in store by just managing the flow of when these requests are coming in. And obviously on the sales side, every bit as frustrating trying to explain bikes that are on the floor rather than actually showing them in the case of virtual consultation or getting them to book time with you. Thinking about your staff, there's nothing worse than waiting on customers to walk into a store. You want your salespeople constantly humming. You want your service department knocking out builds and repairs. So having a sense of, okay, on Tuesday, we're looking pretty heavy on sales, we're looking pretty heavy on service. It allows you to build a game plan for everybody on your staff. Also helps you control traffic. We know that a lot of you are dealing with capacity limitations and directives. So this enables you to manage that flow without having it, sort of queue up out front of your store. And remember too that, anybody that commits to an appointment is automatically a more desirable customer than someone who might just stumble in spontaneously. So definitely want to still have time to enable walk-ins. There's nothing wrong with someone doing that, but the more that you can have commitments from customers, it just makes your day-to-day operations a lot more easy to comprehend and a lot more efficient. Lastly, there's nothing better than building out your database. This is a way to collect customer information in one streamlined area. You can enable post-sales and service follow-up to keep them engaged. I know one thing that we're all focused on these days is, okay, I've got a customer hook, but how do I stay on top of them? How do I make sure that they don't just make this a one and done? This is the first step to ensuring you can do that. And just a quick note, that photo in the upper right, this is a retailer in England who looks a little strange with the headset and the selfie stick with a phone, but that is someone conducting a Zoom sale. And interestingly enough, this article was published back in January. So before we even knew what coronavirus was, this was already happening within our ranks as bicycle retailers. So, clearly with anything that might be new, might be a little uncharted, I'm sure that you have some questions about what this can do and really what it means for your business. So, I know top of mind for everyone these days is I'm slammed. I can't keep on top of my repair schedule. I can't keep up with my sales demand. Why should I do this? And the easiest way we can boil it down is if you don't start to take advantage of this, then you're always going to be too busy. The phone's always going to be ringing off the hook, and the ability to start to control and automate the interest in visiting your business with an online booking solution is one way to start to give you some time back, and most importantly, maintain your sanity. As mentioned before, walk-ups are still a reality. We're not saying no to walk-ups, but what this does do is it allows you to be much more nimble with how your staff is scheduled on a given day, and still giving you the flexibility to keep certain windows open to ensure that your entire team isn't pre-booked, but allows them to have a game plan much more clearly than standing around and seeing what happens. As Mark mentioned, we are living in a e-commerce, iLifestyle sort of mode. What happens if virtual bookings start to become the winner? At the end of the day, you have to give people what they want. They still have to come into the store eventually. But the reality is if you can hook them and make it easier to give them what they want, answer their questions, even if that means 2 or 3 virtual appointments before they walk in, that's still a customer earned and a customer gained. And it's most important at this particular time to bring your store to customers as easily as you can. If virtual bookings start to become more of your day-to-day, how do you manage your staff? For those of us who aren't in retail, everybody is having to adapt to work remotely. In some cases, businesses are realizing, hey, I might not even need a physical office anymore. So just the same way that every industry is wrestling with, well, how do we continue to operate given that we can all work remotely? You can have a segment of your staff that is virtual. I have plenty of colleagues from my old shop in New York who, when they had to limit the number of employees in the store, they basically said, hey, you can still sell from home. And they basically turned into, e-sales associates. So again, radical times, definitely different, but it's all about opening up your business to as many customers as possible. So, just a quick snapshot of what this looks like in practice. This is some examples of what the Spinlister Pro solution looks like in practice. By no means is this the only way to go about it, but want to give you a sense of how this would look if you chose to adopt. So imagine this is your business homepage. This can be a dedicated booking page. You'll see on screen that there's a list of sales and service appointments, both for virtual and in store. Apart from how you merchandise this on your website, you can also create a unique URL for this that you can drop into your social channels, ongoing emails. So it's very easy for folks to access your calendar at any given time. Next step is you pick when you want to select your appointment. One note on this is you have full control over how many or how few appointments are on offer. We understand that there are some days that you want to enable your staff to service walk-ins. There are others where it might be to your benefit to have as many appointment bookings as possible. That is completely up to you, and the customer will only see what you as a retailer want to make available, and that extends to both sales and service. We know that there are certain days that are better for wrenching, there's days that are better for selling, and you have full access to do that. So the customer will only see what you're comfortable offering in a given day and in a given week. Last step is they've got full confirmation of what they're signing up for. They've got everything that they need about your business in a follow-up email that I'll show you in a second. But the whole process takes a couple minutes tops. Very easy to see what's on tap and have the customer make the best decision on how they want to engage with your business. This is an example of what the email looks like. You have the ability to add it straight into your calendar. They have the business info, but obviously if you're doing a virtual meeting, they'll have a unique Zoom link that they can tap into. And obviously, if there is a need to reschedule, cancel, that's all built into the communication flow. So if there are changes, it's not something that's too tough to pick up on. Lastly, from your end, this is a snapshot of what it can look like from your day-to-day management of this. Everything from the types of appointments you offer between in-store and virtual to the duration, who you assign appointments to, that's all entirely in your control. You'll see on the right, this is what your live calendar would look like in terms of, okay, I know that the color purple is for my in-store sales. I know that green is my virtual service. Gives you a sense of, on a daily and weekly basis, what your traffic is going to look like. So the bottom line is you have full control over what you offer, how often you're offering it. It's not like there's one preset recipe to doing this. The key with any online booking tool is to be flexible and to ensure that you're able to bring your store to as many new customers and existing customers as humanly possible. So that's it for us. Again, we really want to thank you all for everything that you're doing in these very trying and unique times to get more people on bikes. If there is one silver lining, I would say if this is the light bulb that gets people thinking differently about, hey, do I really have to drive? Haven't dusted off that old bike in a while. It's a way to just get out and break free for a bit. So you guys are definitely on the front lines of making that happen. So for all of us at Spinlister, can't say enough about the efforts that you're putting in. Rochelle, I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. If you do have questions, go ahead and feel free to put them in either the question pane or the chat there. If people who are listening to the recording want to contact you, how do they get in contact?
Sure. So the easiest way to get a hold of us is we do have a dedicated landing page for the platform at spinlisterpro.com. We'll include that in the follow-up messages that go out. If you have any questions about what you heard today, my email is very easy. It's Colby, C-O-L-B-Y, at spinlister.com. Anyone is more than welcome to reach out to me there.
Great. We are.
Questions. I'm just going to add one thing to Kobe's fabulous presentation. That the one thing that we wanted to make sure we covered was whether you're a 10 location store that's managing a large staff and wants to have lots of flexibility and is really trying to optimize a fleet of employees, or you're an independent mobile bike mechanic with just a van and you're the only employee and the owner operate it. Just a couple of pieces which was not covered was the ability to book remote service, whether you're a brick and mortar retailer or that is your business. I mean, I think especially being here in Los Angeles or other major cities like New York, San Francisco, I mean, most people are actually getting away from car ownership, especially car ownership that's big enough to fit a bicycle. So that's one of the biggest barriers to going to a local bike retailer is I don't have a car to pick up the bike if I buy the bike or to bring my bike in for service. And then the second piece is, we've had some concern of, if everyone gets booked online, it's a waste of time, we're going to get spam. Is, we did the ability to charge if you wanted to charge. If you want to make sure you're collecting $20 before a mobile service, we built that into the booking flow. If you want to say, hey, if you're booking a mobile service repair, you got to put $20 down upon booking, so you're not getting a bunch of bookings that are a waste of time. So just really wanted to empower them, whether it's an independent guy that's got a van or you got 10 locations across the Tri-County area, and just that flexibility. So last little pitch there. We're throw to questions.
All right, we got a question. Is Spinlister a plugin we can use on our existing website?
So just to make sure I'm understanding the question, is it, if the question is, can you take the booking solution that we've built and drop it into your existing website? The answer is yes. The way that it works is once you create an account, from your admin view, you can copy code that will replicate the appointment flow that I showed at the end of the presentation, and you can merchandise that on any page on your website. In addition, If you want to have it as a linked button on your site, if you want to add this link to your Facebook business profile, Instagram, you name it, that link is also visible from the admin. So you have complete control over how you merchandise this. It's not like you have to start your website over from scratch. It is a plug and play solution.
Yeah, to follow up with Kobe said, you can have it just a button on your website. It's a pop-up. It can be an embed on your website. You can make two different versions. One that's for sales, one that's for service, and you can create the widget, as it's called, to just show sales for one of them, just show service for the other. Yeah, I mean, anything from a WordPress to Smart Etail, any of those basic sites, it'll definitely work. And it syncs all to your Google Calendar as well, too. So there's multiple ways to sync your calendar and your emails, just so that these bookings aren't going unnoticed.
All right. Question, we found that people don't show up for appointments. In your experience, what is the best way to reduce these occurrences?
It's a good question. So I think the best way to go about it is to build in buffers for reminders, and also to ensure that even if they don't show up, you haven't lost them entirely. So what I mean by that is anytime you reserve a booking, there is a cadence of follow-up messages that you can plug in so that it's not like they do it on a Tuesday, they book a Saturday appointment and they totally forget about it. So there's ways to always have the appointment be front and center after they book. The other thing is, once you've captured their information, even if they don't show, you can almost use that as a way to not lose them entirely. So just because they don't show up on a given day doesn't mean you have to necessarily lose them for life. Stuff happens. We've all been there. And I totally understand how frustrating it is, because you plan out a day and then, a handful of appointments show up and you're like, well, I could have serviced 2 or 3 other customers. The other piece too is you can always build in buffers for cancellations. So for instance, if someone cancels X number of days in advance, your calendar updates. So let's say someone bails on a 10:30, that doesn't stop someone else from recouping that 10:30. So totally hear the frustration, but I think between reminders and always being able to keep your calendar up to date because of those cancellations, it's one way to get past that.
And another piece is, I think, cell phone, right? You can put in whatever fields you want to be required, make cell phone be one of them. Whether that's a phone call or even a text message to the customer the day before, day of, hour before. There's all sorts of great solutions to kind of do that. And it's a lot easier for someone to get a text on their phone and be like, hey, this is a reminder that you have an appointment at Joe's Bike Shop at 10:30. Reply no if you're unable to make it. And they're actually going to reply no versus make the effort to go online and cancel the booking. So I think that's kind of just overall looking at retail in general, is collecting that cell phone number, which if they're booking an appointment, most likely they'll do. And then, like to Kobe's point, even if they ghost you, you now have their cell phone number to follow up with them. It's a great contact point.
All right, great. That looks like all the questions that are coming in. If people have any more questions, we encourage them to send them directly to you guys at Spinlister via email, or you can send it to us and we'll forward it on. So we'll end it there. Thank you both so much for being here and for sharing your information with us.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks everybody, appreciate it.
Have a good one.